Listen closely. Beyond the cacophony of the everyday mind, beyond the relentless march of linear time as we perceive it, there exists a subtle vibration, a quiet knowing that often surfaces unbidden, a faint melody beneath the noise. We call it intuition, that gut feeling, that hunch, that inexplicable sense of direction or caution that whispers when logic falls silent. But what if this inner compass, this gentle guide we sometimes heed and often dismiss, is not merely a product of subconscious processing or ancestral memory? What if it is something far more profound, something that bends the very fabric of time and self? Consider the provocative, perhaps unsettling notion presented. Your intuition might be an echo from your future self, a message sent backward through the stream of moments, a resonant call from a version of you who has already navigated the waters you are just now entering. This is not a mere intellectual curiosity. It carries the weight of a warning, not a warning of impending doom necessarily, but a caution against negligence, an alert to the immense power and responsibility that comes with recognizing this potential connection. To ignore this subtle frequency, this potential temporal dialogue, is perhaps to sail blindfolded into avoidable storms, to miss crucial navigational markers left by the one who knows the currents best, your own future consciousness. It suggests that the self is not confined to the present instant, a lonely vessel adrift on the sea of now. Instead, imagine the self as a luminous thread woven through the tapestry of time, capable of vibrating, of resonating across its own length. The future in this light isn't a distant, unknowable shore, but a connected point on that same thread capable of sending ripples back to its past, which is our present. To entertain this idea is to step onto hallowed, perhaps perilous ground. It asks us to reconsider the seemingly solid boundaries of causality, the one-way street of time's arrow. Could it be that time is less like a rigidly tracked line and more like a flowing river with eddies, currents, and resonant frequencies that allow for subtle communication across its bends? The whisper of intuition, then, becomes a signal flare from downstream, a glimpse of terrain already charted by another iteration of you. It implies a reality far more fluid, interconnected, and mysterious than the mundane world often acknowledges. This isn't just about predicting lottery numbers or avoiding minor mishaps. It hints at a deeper dialogue concerning our soul's journey, our evolutionary path, the choices that truly define our becoming. The warning lies in the potential reality shift this understanding triggers. Once you truly hear the echo, once you acknowledge its source, the linear world may begin to dissolve, replaced by a more holistic, time-bending perception of existence. It's an invitation to listen not just with your ears, but with your entire being, to attune yourself to the subtle harmonies playing across the expanse of your own timeline. It's a call to recognize that the wisdom you seek may not be external, but an internal resonance, a message in a bottle from a future shore you are destined to reach. Listen now, for the echo carries the map. At the heart of this resonant warning, that your intuition might be the voice of your future self, whispering back through the corridors of time, lie several profound themes that challenge our ingrained perception of reality. It compels us to dismantle the clockwork universe we've been taught and glimpse the flowing, interconnected ocean of existence beneath. The first and most foundational concept is the reimagining of time itself. We habitually perceive time as a relentless, unidirectional arrow moving irrevocably from a fixed past through a fleeting present towards an unknown future. This model serves our daily logistics, but it may be a profound simplification, a necessary illusion for navigating the material plane. The idea of future echoes suggests time is perhaps more akin to a vast interwoven tapestry where every thread, past, present, future, coexists simultaneously, potentially influencing every other thread. Or perhaps it's like a deep river where the water downstream, the future, can create pressure waves, eddies, and subtle currents that affect the flow further upstream, our present. In this fluid dynamic, the future isn't sealed off but remains in a state of resonant potential, capable of interacting with the now. Information, carried perhaps not by particles but by vibrational frequencies or quantum entanglement across temporal distances, could ripple backward, manifesting as those sudden insights, those gut feelings we call intuition. Flowing naturally from this re-envisioning of time is a necessary expansion of our understanding of the self. If time is not strictly linear, then perhaps the self is not strictly confined to the present moment. Who are you? Are you merely the sum of your past experiences culminating in this instant? Or is the you that exists now only one point of awareness along a continuum of consciousness that stretches into what we perceive as the future? This perspective posits a broader, more unified self, a being whose awareness isn't fragmented by the illusion of sequential moments, but exists in some manner across its entire temporal span. The future self, then, isn't an entirely separate entity contacting you like an alien intelligence. It is you, further along the path, possessing the wisdom born of experience, attempting to communicate vital information back to its earlier iteration. This communication isn't necessarily verbal or even cognitive in the way we understand thought. It might be emotional, somatic, a felt sense, a resonance that the present self registers as intuition. It's the feeling of knowing without knowing how you know, because a part of you already knows. This leads us to the mechanism: resonance and vibrational communication. How does such a message traverse the perceived gap between future and present? The language might be one of frequency. Imagine your entire timeline, your expanded self, vibrating at a complex series of frequencies. A significant event, a crucial decision point, a moment of profound realization experienced by the future self could create a powerful harmonic resonance that propagates backward along this vibrational continuum. The present self, being part of the same resonant system, can pick up this signal, much like a tuning fork vibrates when another identical fork is struck nearby. This intuitive hit isn't a logical deduction, it's a sympathetic response, a feeling that aligns or clashes with the resonant frequency broadcast by the future experience. The warning aspect becomes clear here. Discordant frequencies, warnings, cautionary feelings might relate to future states of suffering or misalignment, while harmonious frequencies, inspirations, feelings of rightness, might point towards paths of growth, joy, or purpose as perceived from that future vantage point. Finally, this framework inevitably brushes against the age-old questions of causality, free will, and destiny. If your future self can send messages back, does that mean the future is fixed? Not necessarily. It could imply a probable future, a likely outcome based on current trajectories. The echo from the future self might be an attempt to alter that trajectory, to offer guidance that allows the present self to make a different choice, thereby changing the future from which the message originated. This introduces a fascinating feedback loop, a dynamic interplay between foresight and choice. The intuition isn't a command from a predetermined script. It's potentially a piece of intelligence offered to enhance the present self's ability to navigate freely and wisely. The warning, then, also serves to highlight the significance of our present choices. Listening to these echoes isn't about passively accepting fate. It's about actively engaging with a broader spectrum of awareness to co-create the most aligned and fulfilling path forward. It suggests our free will operates not in a vacuum, but within a field of potential futures informed by the subtle resonance of our own unfolding journey. Understanding these core themes allows us to move beyond seeing intuition as a mere psychological quirk and recognize it as a potential portal to a vastly expanded understanding of time, self, and the very nature of reality. Let us journey deeper now beyond conceptual frameworks into the realm of metaphor and symbol, where truth often reveals itself not through stark definition, but through resonant imagery. Imagine your passage through existence as captaining a lone vessel across a vast fog-shrouded ocean. The fog is thickest right around your ship. This is your present moment, your immediate perception, limited and uncertain. You rely on charts drawn from past voyages, memory, and instruments measuring immediate conditions. Logic. But sometimes piercing through the dense gray mist comes a flash of light. Unexpected, inexplicable. It doesn't illuminate the entire ocean or reveal the final destination, but it starkly highlights a hidden reef just off the port bow, or reveals a clear channel previously obscured. This flash, brief and potent, is the lighthouse beam operated by your future self. That self stands on a shore you haven't yet reached, a vantage point further along your own timeline. They have already seen the rocks you are about to hit, navigated the currents you are just entering. Their warning or guidance isn't a detailed map faxed back through time. It's that urgent, focused beam of intuition, cutting through the fog of the immediate now, urging a course correction or confirming a safe passage. To dismiss it as a trick of the light, a phantom reflection, is to risk running aground on obstacles your own future experience is trying to help you avoid. Or perhaps envision your life not as a line, but as a single, vibrant thread, being woven into an immense cosmic tapestry by unseen hands. You, in your present awareness, are the point where the thread is actively passing through the loom. You feel the tension, see the color you currently embody, but the weaver and perhaps a perspective available to your thread further along its woven path can see the emerging pattern. They see the complex knots ahead, the areas where the thread might fray, the sections where it blends harmoniously with neighboring threads to create breathtaking beauty. Your intuition, then, is like a subtle vibration felt along your own thread, a tremor sent backward from a point where the weaving is already complete or further advanced. It's a haptic message from your future condition, a dissonant buzz warning of an impending tangle, or a smooth, resonant hum signaling alignment with the grand design. You don't receive the entire blueprint of the tapestry, but you feel the quality of the path ahead through this intrinsic connection, this thread-borne resonance transmitted from future you to now you. Ignoring this somatic signal is like the thread refusing to acknowledge its own continuity, its own inherent connection to the pattern it is part of. Consider also the journey as a walk through a deep, echoing canyon sculpted by the currents of time itself. Every footstep, every spoken word, every choice sends ripples of consequence forward. This is causality as we typically understand it. But imagine this canyon possesses unique temporal acoustics. A powerful cry, perhaps a shout of discovery, a gasp of realization, or a wail of regret uttered far downstream in the canyon's future bends, doesn't just echo forward. Under specific resonant conditions, amplified by the canyon's strange shape, a faint echo travels backward upstream, reaching the traveler long before they arrive at the point where the original sound was made. This temporally displaced echo, subtle and easily lost in the immediate sounds of the present environment, is intuition. It's the faint resonance of a future emotional peak or trough reaching back to inform the present moment. The urgency, the warning, lies in tuning the inner ear to discern these faint backward echoes from the general noise, recognizing them not as random mental static, but as precious fragments of foresight carried on the resonant winds of time, offered by the self who has already traversed that ground. These symbolic narratives converge on a single point. Our intuitive sense may be far more than instinct. It might be a sacred temporal communication, an intimate dialogue between the self navigating the now and the self who holds the wisdom of the then that is yet to be. So how does this profound, time-bending perspective, the idea that intuition is a whisper from our own future, translate from the ethereal realms of metaphor and concept into the tangible landscape of our daily lives? How do we attune our inner ear to these subtle echoes amidst the clamor of the world? The integration isn't about acquiring a mystical superpower overnight, but rather cultivating a deeper sensitivity, a more trusting relationship with the subtle currents of knowing that flow beneath the surface of conscious thought. It begins with the simple yet radical act of paying attention. When a strong gut feeling arises, a sudden urge to take a different route home, an inexplicable wariness about a seemingly attractive opportunity, a surprising pull towards a person or place, instead of immediately rationalizing it away, we pause. We acknowledge it. We treat it not as random mental noise, but as potentially valuable data, a signal deserving consideration. This doesn't mean blindly obeying every whim, but rather adding this intuitive input into our decision-making matrix, alongside logic and experience. It's like consulting an additional highly specialized advisor, one with unique temporal perspective. This practice cultivates enhanced self-trust. If the deepest wisdom, the most relevant guidance for your specific path, originates from a more experienced iteration of your own consciousness, then the ultimate authority resides within. This realization can be incredibly liberating, gradually reducing our reliance on external validation or the constant seeking of answers outside ourselves. We learn to differentiate the voice of fear, which often contracts and limits, from the voice of intuition, which, even when cautionary, often carries a sense of clarity, neutrality, or rightness for our specific journey. This inner listening can become a compass in moments of confusion, helping us navigate complex choices in relationships, career paths, or personal growth. Should I take this job? Is this relationship truly aligned? Is this risk worth taking? The echo from the future self might offer a felt sense, expansion or contraction, resonance or dissonance, providing insight that transcends a simple pro and con list. Furthermore, this understanding can reframe our perception of challenges and synchronicities. Difficult periods, the so-called dark nights of the soul, might be viewed not merely as suffering, but perhaps as intense periods where the future self is sending strong signals about necessary course corrections or deep transformations required for future well-being. The intuitive discomfort or sense of urgency during these times could be a direct prompt to change, to heal, to let go. Similarly, those meaningful coincidences, repeating numbers, or uncanny encounters we label synchronicity could be seen as amplifications or confirmations of these intuitive signals. It's as if the universe conspires with your future self, leaving signposts and nudges in the external world that mirror the internal whisper, reinforcing the message and encouraging you to heed the call. Recognizing this interplay transforms the mundane world into a potentially communicative environment, rich with subtle meaning directly relevant to our path. Living with this awareness encourages a certain fluidity and presence. If time is less rigid and guidance can ripple back from the future, it paradoxically emphasizes the power of the present moment. It is here, in the now, that we receive the echo. It is here that we make the choice to listen or ignore. It is here that our actions influence the future from which the echo originates. This fosters a mindful engagement with life, an openness to subtle cues, and a willingness to deviate from rigid plans when intuition strongly suggests it. The warning aspect becomes less about fearing the future and more about respecting the process of unfolding. It's a call to vigilance, to honor the sacred dialogue occurring across the temporal landscape of your own being. By integrating this perspective, we don't just navigate life. We begin to consciously participate in the weaving of our own timeline, guided by the resonant wisdom of the self who has already walked the path ahead. And so, we arrive not at an end, but perhaps at a new beginning, standing at the threshold of a perception shift potent enough to recalibrate our entire experience of reality. The initial tremor, the provocative warning, your intuition might be an echo from your future self, listen now, resolves not into a mandate of fear, but into a profound invitation. It beckons us to lean closer to the subtle symphony playing beneath the noise of the world, to recognize the quiet hum of our own expanded consciousness, resonating across the seemingly impassable terrain of time. We have journeyed through the possibility of time as a flowing river rather than a rigid track, considered the self as a luminous thread woven through its currents, capable of feeling vibrations from its future unfolding. We have explored the symbolic landscapes, the lighthouse beam cutting through fog, the tremor along the cosmic thread, the echo rebounding through the canyons of becoming, all pointing towards the same potential truth. The guidance we seek may already reside within, broadcast from a vantage point further along our own destined path. This understanding is not merely an intellectual curiosity. It is a key capable of unlocking a more conscious, empowered, and intuitively guided existence. When the whispers of gut feelings, the sudden inexplicable knowings, the resonant pulls or pushes are viewed through this lens, they transform from random psychic static into potentially vital communiques. The practical implications ripple outward, urging us to cultivate stillness, to pay reverent attention to these internal signals, to build a bridge of trust back to the wisdom inherent within our own being. It suggests that navigating life's crossroads, interpreting its challenges and recognizing its synchronicities, are not solitary struggles against external forces, but potentially part of an intricate internal dialogue designed to steer us towards our highest becoming. The world itself might begin to feel less like a series of random events and more like a responsive environment, mirroring and amplifying the signals originating from our core. Therefore, the ultimate call is not merely to believe this possibility, but to engage with it, to experiment, to listen with an intensity and openness previously reserved for external authorities. What happens when you truly honor that subtle inner nudge, even when logic screams otherwise? What patterns emerge when you begin to track these intuitive hits, noting their quality, their context, their eventual outcome? This is not about abandoning reason, but about integrating it with a deeper, more ancient, perhaps even future-sourced intelligence. It's an invitation to become a conscious participant in the feedback loop of your own evolution, acknowledging that the wisdom gleaned from future experience might be accessible now, offering course corrections, encouragements, and warnings meant solely for your benefit. Listen then. Listen in the quiet moments, in the spaces between thoughts, in the feelings that arise without apparent cause. Treat your intuition not as a fickle guest, but as the resonant voice of your own experienced self, reaching back with love and guidance. Trust the subtle language of your body, the felt sense of expansion or contraction, the quiet certainty that bypasses the need for proof. This is the path toward reclaiming your inner authority, toward navigating the unfolding mystery of existence with greater grace, wisdom, and alignment. The echo is there. The future you is calling. The transformation begins the moment you decide to truly listen now. The journey doesn't end here. It deepens, guided by the whispers from the shore you are sailing towards, illuminating the way forward from within.